Star Trek Resurgence, Mage Knight Ultimate Edition, and That's Not a Hat. This is staying in. Do any of you subscribe to the philosophy of feng shui?
Is it, what is that? Who hosts that?
That's the latest Marvel movie. I don't subscribe to it, but that's the one where they basically say, oh, if you put your tissue box on your desk 90 degrees to the angle of this, and then your chakras figure themselves out,
Don't put a mirror, don't put a mirror in front of the bed? Which I subscribe to that because, and because I went for the office Christmas party, we went to a venue that we've never been to before. And so we had some people in the team who were like really, really super talented, and they put together a band, and they performed in front of a big mirror. And it was just one of the most horrible experiences I can imagine.
Watching yourself watch a band?
Yes, because I was just like, I'm really enjoying this. And then I just catch myself in the mirror and go, oh, you look like an idiot. Don't dance. That's it. Cross your arms, slow down, and just nod and be polite. Be polite. You're a manager now. Get a grip. And I was just like, that's feng shui, isn't it? Like, don't put that mirror there. My energy would have been a lot more.
Yeah, I think that covers everything, like your wealth corner and stuff like that. Yeah, definitely.
Hey, Kris, are you getting into feng shui at the moment?
No. I mean, I can't claim to be an expert on it, but I recently, it's confirmed some suspicions for me recently in terms of my sleeping patterns. That I realised when I was at Pete's, I sleep better in a corner.
Yeah, but I don't think that's feng shui.
Do you mean like just balled up in a corner? Or?
No, because so my partner's bed is also in a corner. Mine in my house isn't. And I've never really been able to sleep properly in my room ever since I moved in there, like nearly 2 years ago. And there's just something I find quite comforting about being in the corner.
I think, okay, Kris, this is delightful and this is lovely, but I think this is probably something that you're going to have to get over, because if you ever, when you own a house with your lovely wife to be in the future, you're going to have a very, very difficult conversation to convince her to allow you to have a bed in the corner of the room.
Because I'm imagining that, Kris, you're not going to be the one in the corner.
Oh no, I like being in the corner. Who doesn't? That's great. I don't know. Do you not find it comforting?
No, because I find it more comforting to know that I've got my books, my water, a little lamp at the side of the bed. So if I wake up in the night, I can, just read something, have a little sip of water, charge my devices, slap the Steam Deck on there, whatever. Just pile it up with stuff to do.
Oh my gosh.
It's got a coffee machine.
So, like your bedside table is just laden.
What tea's made.
It's got a microwave.
Air fryer.
Toaster.
George Foreman. He's there.
But he draws the line at a mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to see myself.
Yeah, none of them have shiny surfaces.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. Like, don't you read before bed? And if you read, where you put in your book?
I'd just lean over and put it on the bedside table.
No, all right.
Look at him.
Well, then you might wake her up.
Yeah.
Oh no, not at all. Not at all. Honestly, I can't quite put my finger on it. The comfort of it. I think it goes back to that feeling of almost like being swaddled as a baby. There's something quite comforting about being.
So do you have this issue when you're sharing the bed, kind of when you're asleep? Is it that you need something?
I need something there, Dan.
So if it's not a wall, would a person suffice?
Yes, but the issue is obviously, I only share a bed with one person, so I need someone on the other side. So I've got a wall.
All right, okay.
That's a very different conversation we're moving into now.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to get one of those Japanese body pillows. I think.
Okay. Why Japanese?
I don't know. They're quite common.
Yeah, Sam. What's wrong with good old-fashioned British body pillows?
What's a body pillow? Is it just a pillow?
They come here taking our pillows.
Is it just a pillow that is like my height?
Have you not seen body pillows before?
No.
It's just like big long tube.
Don't Google it.
Well, yeah. Go and search it. So go on, Chris.
No,
you search.
right. A, definitely don't Google it, and B, definitely
Go into incognito mode.
Yeah, definitely don't go to the marketplace in Gamescom Cologne where they will sell you a body pillow on the middle of the show floor, which is an incredible activity that I've seen gamers do. Like full body pillows that are like 5 foot high with like.
These look fine. They just look like very wide draft excluders.
Well, yeah.
They look fine. Yeah, I'd find that quite comfortable.
Okay, so would you be comfortable with me using the phrase "Chris has got a body pillow"?
Because a wall wasn't good enough.
Good.
I mean, but I mean, like if people ask you about me, I assume that wouldn't be the first thing you'd say about me, Pete.
Yeah.
Oh no, Chris, it would. It would. That would shoot straight
Right.
to the top of the list.
It might be that I come to Sam and Dan for a character reference if I need it for a job. One thing you should know about him, he's got a body pillow. But I stayed at yours, Pete.
You did, and we had a lovely time. Well, I had a lovely time. Did you have a lovely time?
Dan, Sam, a few days before, actually about a week before, I messaged Pete. I said, Pete, I'm coming down just to check the usual. Do I need pillow, towel, sleeping bag?
Yeah.
Pete was like, yes to all of those.
Body pillow.
Turn up, walk in. Alex says, yep, just made a bed up for you. It's like, great. Pete told me that I had to bring everything with me. He said, oh no, I don't know why he said that. We've got a spare bed.
Do you sleep on the standing desk?
That standing desk is incredible. Pete showed me the standing desk.
I did. We took a full 2 hours to go through the standing desk.
Oh my word!
Yeah, like I've got a standing desk. We've got a bed now for you, which is like the next level, I would say.
It's very comfortable bed.
It's a comfortable bed. You other two are more than welcome to come along and use it. Is a double bed.
Wow.
I know. We're pulling out all the stops. Did you have a fun down with me, Chris?
I always have a fun time. I love this kind of little winter tradition I have post-Christmas where I come down to Bristol to see you and Alex.
Oh, it's lovely, isn't it?
I bring you a bottle of Baileys.
Yep.
And I bring you a Christmas-themed beer.
Yep. A slightly rude Christmas-themed beer.
'Tis the season.
And we played board games, of course.
We played board games. Yes, we did. With a mutual friend of ours, who I'd never met in person before, so that was really, really nice.
Yeah.
Your partner had got Flamecraft, which was a pretty hot property, board games-wise, in 2022, which I'd always wanted to play, which is a really lovely, cute, kind of worker placement card game, I suppose, really.
Yeah, it's kind of like viticulture or a little bit of maybe Agricola or Brewcrafters or one of those sorts of games that we talked about before, but a slightly lighter version of those. And,
yes, very much.
And I really
so.
like the theme as well. Like basically, cute dragons run a town where they make artisan goods, and you have to get those artisan goods. Like the whole town working basically. The theme works really nicely.
Yeah, and I like the fact that it's all done on reputation, and unlike a lot of worker placements games where if somebody goes in the place you want to go, that's it, you're stuffed until the next round. Here, you can go where they've gone, you just pay them a little resource.
Yeah.
And you can pimp out shops that not only benefit yourself, but also future players who visit there. So it felt really quite nice, and it was always exciting to see a new shop being revealed. And it was a really lovely game that was surprisingly restrained for a Kickstarter game. I felt like it really put it was really very what's the word? I thought it was very, very well considered in terms of where it put its resources, in terms of its beautiful artwork.
Yes.
And the quality of the cards themselves.
Yeah, the quality of the material. They chose quality materials, quality of the art, and quality of the design over, smashing it full of plastic or like loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of extra modes. Like there is a solo mode, there is a, there was like an exclusive Kickstarter model or something like that, but they were really, really small set things. And the key thing, and this is the thing that I think that is really important about Kickstarters, the thing that I think that takes them from in away from the realm of you're going to see the complete deluxe versions of these secondhand in the board game bring and buy at your latest convention, takes it away from that, is you can play the core game without any of that stuff, and it's still brilliant. Like, the game holds up. It feels like a game, as I say, I think something like a Viticulture, but more, I think, just more approachable. I've played it with people who just, they would look at Viticulture or Agricola and they'd be like, that looks a bit dry. Whereas something like Flamecraft feels kind of similar in places, but it's just really lovely and yeah.
And then we played a game which I can only apologise for, Pete, which I got for Christmas for £7. It's a £7 game. My brother told me the price because he's like that sort of person. Those sorts of people that like to tell you how much.
Oh, my dad does that all the time. Gives you a gift that's really nice and it's just like, you won't believe the deal I got on that. I don't need to know. I don't know.
I love that. I love it.
No. But it's called That's Not a Hat from Casper Lapp, who actually, one of the previous games that was well known was Magic Maze they did.
Oh, yes.
This is from Ravensburger. It's a bluffing memory party game.
Yep.
So the best description I can explain for this is when you walk into a room and you can't remember why you walked in here for.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that in a card game.
All right.
Player count 3 to 8. Takes about 15 minutes to play a game. I'd say sometimes it's even less than that, depending on who you're playing with and how much you've had to drink. So picture this. Imagine the four of us around a table, and I have put in the centre of the table a face-up pile of cards, each of them displaying a simple line drawing of an object on a white background. And these are gifts. It's like a deck of gifts, essentially. And then I give you each a gift from that pile, and we all have it kind of face up in front of us. So imagine that, Dan, you've got a cupcake. Sam, you've got a magnifying glass. Pete, to the left of me, you've got a skateboard, and I've got a banana.
Mm-hmm.
And then imagine I'm the first player. So I begin by showing everyone my banana.
Well, classic Kris.
I turn it face down.
Classic Kris. He's there, his body pillow's next to him.
Yeah.
Banana in hand.
Showing everyone his banana.
You can never have enough potassium. I flip it face down, and I look at the back of my card, and all the gifts have this, and it has an arrow which either points left or right. So on this occasion, it has a left arrow on it, and I slide it towards Pete, and I say, Pete, here is my banana. And then Pete can choose to accept this gift or not.
Oh, I wouldn't.
And obviously, he's gonna choose to accept it this time around because he's literally just seen my banana.
Yeah, and I know it's a banana, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So if for whatever reason he chose to decline my banana, he would have to challenge me on it.
Why would he?
And then we'd flip it up, and if he's wrong, he keeps it in a discard pile. If I'm wrong, I keep it in a discard pile.
Okay.
But he takes my banana and he puts it beneath his skateboard. He flips his skateboard down. Oh, it's got a left arrow on it as well. I will pass that to Dan. He goes, here you go, Dan, there's a skateboard. And you keep doing this. And it sounds really obvious. All you've got to do is try and remember where these 4 gifts are on the table. But I tell you what, you just look up for a second. You start having a chat with somebody. You then suddenly look down at the table. You cannot remember, A, the card that's just been given to you, or B, the card you've literally just flipped over that everyone has seen. And it's really quite telling that the designer originally, he kind of came up with this as a kid's game, but then he tested it and thinking, actually, this is actually quite tricky for adults, let alone for kids.
Yeah.
And it's a simple set of mechanics, but there's something about the fact that the line drawings are kind of black line drawings on a white background, and they're all like that. So the images are distinctive, but they're not distinctive enough that you can remember what they are necessarily. And that's kind of compounded by the fact that if you play subsequent rounds, you can't remember if a card has literally just been in this round or the previous round. And it's so funny. I played this with my parents over Christmas, and it got to the point where my mum was just reading off cards that we could all see were just face up in front of her that clearly weren't the card face down that she just handed over to us. And it's hilarious. The best way to play this game is to accept the fact that you're just going to forget stuff. I think it becomes quite tricky when you actually try to play the game. It's a party game, after all. The joy in it is actually bluffing. And it's really interesting where, unlike Sheriff of Nottingham, where you have to choose whether you're bluffing or not when you play that card, here, your ability to remember or not dictates whether you bluff or not. And you may actually think you're bluffing, but you may not be. You may have actually got it right, if that makes sense.
So is there like a deception element to it as well? Like when you're passing cards, is it a case of that you've said, okay, I have a skateboard, I'm going to pass a card to you. Can you pass a card that's not a skateboard across or something like that? Or is it just about the confusion?
You could do, but my memory's not good enough, Dan, to be able to do that, because I'm struggling to actually remember the card that's there, let alone to pass the one that I'm kind of bluffing with. And like, say for example that Pete got it wrong, what would happen would he take my banana in his discard pile face up, and then a new card from the top is added into his mix. And there's something about the fact that a new card enters play, suddenly everyone forgets what the other four are and where they are. And it felt a bit like Wandering Towers, Sam, but like you get to that sensation immediately.
I wonder whether 4 is like the optimum number for this game, because
probably
8 people feels like that is just...
yeah, it's ludicrous. I mean, you played this game when you're drunk. I'm going to bring this to Aircon. I think at the end of the night, like, that would be absolutely hilarious.
It is, and I want to be really, really clear. This game is great. Like, it's a brilliant, very elegantly designed game, and I hated it. Like, it is like, because my memory is so poor, I just knew there was nothing I was going to be able to do about it. Like, I was not very good at it at all, right? But this is one of those like Marmite games. You are going to either like dig it, your group is going to absolutely love this, or you're going to have one or two members of that group go, it's not really my cup of tea. I think it's going to be for people who, like, if you've got friends who know how to do things like count cards, or have like a particularly, like they reckon themselves a pretty good memory. Like, you're gonna get so much out of this. And again, it's just a single deck. Like, it's a small deck of cards. It is small, compact. It plays really quickly, plays really elegantly. A brilliant piece of design, and one I never want to have in my house ever again.
Or maybe don't bring it to Aircon then, Kris.
Yeah, I might not. Really do.
Yeah.
Aircon. I've got one little card game I want to mention, which might be my card game of the year.
Already? It's only 2024, Kris.
I know it's a really good game, and I really enjoy playing it. It's just I'm not very good at it at all. Have you ever played? Are you any of you very good at? Have you got good reactions? Would you say, all of you?
Okay, reactions. I think I'm competent. I have competent reactions.
Depends what I'm reacting to.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Like, my parents have got a game called Cobra Paw, which I don't know if you've ever played. You've seen it in lots of... Yeah, it's a hexagonal box. It's like you've literally got to pounce on a piece before the other person does. I got a card game for my sister called Dutch Blitz, which is an old card game. It's been around since the late 30s. And it was designed by Werner Ernst George Muller, who was a immigrant from Hamburg who emigrated to Pennsylvania, and it's really big with Dutch settlers, and it's really big randomly in lots of kind of Christian youth groups, and you can actually buy jumbo pub-sized versions of the game, the cards and stuff. Pete, you introduced me to the word coopetition a few years ago. It's this in a nutshell, but it's real time. There are no turns. Everyone is playing at once, and games can last between 1 minute to 15 minutes. It's a shame that SC didn't discover this as a gift to get for Sam as one of the shortest game.
Or maybe next year.
Yeah. But so very quickly, each of us, if we're playing, we'd each have our own deck of 40 cards. And they are split into 4 colours, each one 1 to 10, and they have a back that is unique to us. The aim of the game is to get rid of 10 of your cards and this is called your blitz pile, by playing all your cards into a central set of piles that everyone plays into.
Okay.
And these piles have to go from 1 to 10 in the central deck. So you start by shuffling your deck, dealing 3 cards face up into their own private row. This is your post pile. I don't know why, it just is.
Okay.
Then you deal 10 cards face down into a pile. Flip that pile over. This is your blitz pile. If you get through all this deck, you've won the round. The cards left in your hand, this big pile of cards, is your wood pile. And one person is decided to be the scorer, and they decide when the game begins. The rules are very strict. One person decides when the game begins, and that's it, you're off. Any cards that are face up can be played, but all piles in the centre of the table have to start with a 1, and you have to go from 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 10 in their matching colour. So there'll be lots of red piles, lots of green piles, lots of yellow piles eventually.
I'm not going to lie, Chris, but this sounds like the most complicated game ever committed to.
The reason why I'm doing this is because reading the rules, Sam, is an absolute pain. And lots of people have commented on this. The rules explanation thinking, this is supposed to be simple. Why does this sound so unbelievably complicated? The rule that's not listed is any card that you've got face up can be played, providing it can fit into the sequence like solitaire style in the centre of the table, going from 1 to 10. So if I've got a 1 that suddenly appeared when I dealt it out to me, I can just play that immediately into the centre. If it's come from my post pile, I can take something from my blitz pile and put it there straight away. So you're frantically playing cards into the centre, and suddenly like, oh, Pete got there before me. Oh, Dan got there before me. Do I cycle through my woodpile deck to find the cards I need, or do I wait until somebody else plays that 6 so they can then pounce and play my 7? Because that will allow me to get through my blitz pile. Once somebody shouts blitz, their blitz pile's done, everyone stops, and they're very strict about that. The scorer then looks at the Dutch pile in the centre of the table, flips them over, and divides them back into the original piles for the players. Each card in the centre is 1 point to that player. Each card left in their blitz pile is -2 points.
And then you bury the deck, and on a full moon, you turn around 3 times.
This sounds a bit folky. Like
It is folky, Pete.
It's a bit folky, like a bit sort of like you need someone to teach you.
And there are derivatives in lots of different cultures of this game. There's lots of different derivatives of this with 52 playing cards. But I kid you not, this card game was the most popular thing I played over Christmas. My mum, the day I left to travel down to UP, my mum sent me a picture. She bought her own deck of it. She'd been playing it with my dad.
Incredible.
It is addictive as hell. And it's probably now the oldest game I own, obviously other than chess. But like in terms of an actual game, and I like these games where the company that publishes it is called the Dutch Blitz Games Company. All they do is publish Dutch Blitz cards, and it's the exact same design and template as it's had since the 30s.
You need to bring this to Aircon, because I'd love to play this.
I want you all to, in feng shui fashion, let's push all the chairs to the side of the room. Let's make some room. Let's make some room.
Already in the corner.
Let's put the bed in the corner for Chris, because I want to just make a bit of room inside the podcast to talk about Mage Knight.
Yeah. Talk about a classic.
Let's talk about, talking of classics, let's talk about a classic. Mage Knight. So we got sent Mage Knight, the Ultimate Edition.
And it certainly is.
That's a big box.
And it is the Ultimate Edition. It is a big old box of stuff. So, if you never heard of Mage Knight, it probably is one of the most highest rated board games on Board Game Geek.
Yeah, it's got everything the BGG looks for, right?
Yeah, it does. It's got minis. It's
8.9 on BGG.
8.9. Oof. It's an absolutely massive game, both in size and reputation in the board game industry. And it's a game that I have been wanting to play for a long time. And I'm just going to bury the lead ever so slightly with my sort of headline thoughts of Mage Knight as a game. First, some facts. So it first came out in 2011. The version that I've been playing, and Chris has been playing as well, is Mage Knight, the Ultimate Edition, which came out 7 years later. It's designed by Vlaada Chvátil, who you may also recognise as the designer of Codenames.
Oh.
Yes, the very same. And it was also, and this is going to get your attention, Peter, it was also re-implemented into a Star Trek version called Star Trek Frontiers, which is exactly the same game. It's just a Star Trek
really?
Yeah.
I'll just go on mute while I.
Okay, yeah, cool. Your credit cards and your dressing gown.
Yep.
So Mage Knight Ultimate Edition is pretty much exactly the same as Mage Knight the original, except it's got the 3 different expansions that were released in the interim. So the Lost Legion, Shades of Tesla, and Krang, another extra playable character that you can play. I was looking, Chris, at comparisons to see what the differences between the 2 versions would be, because I thought, they must have updated the art, they must have updated the tokens or the mats or the tiles.
It's the Ultimate Edition.
Everything is pretty much exactly the same as the previous edition. I think it's just got everything in one big box, essentially. Because I imagine now, the first edition was released in 2011. Between now and then, I'd imagine things like the expansions probably are quite difficult to get hold of. So the Ultimate Edition kind of makes sense in terms of a value prospect. The reason why I'm burying the lead ever so slightly is that I do have reservations about Mage Knight Ultimate Edition and Mage Knight the original edition. And it's always something that has put me off just buying it in general. And that has been that I don't think I would have ever have bought this game unless we were sent it.
Why's that?
I think it's because, first of all, the Ultimate Edition retails for over £100.
Okay.
And the second reason why is I was always put off by the complexity of it, which now, having played, Twilight Imperium, doesn't necessarily
it's like water off a duck's back, isn't
put me off.
Can I just say, I just checked, because I just saw the complexity level, and you gave, when we played Twilight Imperium, which is a complexity level of 4.32 out of 5, you gave us about 3 months with the rules in order to understand it. This one has 4.66 complexity, and I imagine you just showed up and went, plonk, here we go, let's play this.
Well, I did prime Kris with...
I watched a series of videos.
I actually think that complexity-wise, it probably is one of the things that they've done in the Ultimate Edition on top of the original, where when you open this up, you get 3 different manuals, one for the expansion, one for the rules, and one is just specifically written as a gameplay guide, which step by step introduces you to everything that you need to know as you are playing through one of the scenarios. So it does a really good job of introducing everything that you need to introduce as you're playing the game. But yeah, it is complex. Burying the lead ever so slightly, and sorry for this, Dan, because you're editing this, but Mage Knight is amazing.
Whoa!
Like, it is.
Oh, dropping that big old F-bomb there.
Spicy. This means it must be good, because if we're going to bring out the beat button, that's important.
And we don't do it often.
So let me just talk about how it plays, just to get this out of the way, and then I'll talk about how it makes you feel when you play it, or at least me anyway. So Mage Knight, you pick a hero, you can play 1 to 4 people, and you'll pick a hero, you'll pick a scenario, and you'll set everything up on the table. And each hero comes with a little painted mini and a hand of cards. And cards allow you to move, do actions like fight, heal, block, gain influence. So you play 5 cards on your turn, and then what you can do then is move and then do an action. So you can move and then fight or explore a town or go after some hidden treasure, and that's basically it in a nutshell. And each card has 2 different parts for it, like a standard part, a basic part, and another part that can be buffed by a specific color of mana that you may or may not have specific access to. So that's a kind of, the basics of the game. The scenario will give you some sort of parameters to work within. Most of the time it's kind of explore a region and try and take over some cities that have been corrupted by this bad influence, like something fantasy. It's all kind of that sort of guff. But never in a board game have I ever felt so free and so flexible in terms of how I approach a specific scenario and what I can do in it. And how the game is structured is also, it's done in a way which really enables that open-ended approach to just do whatever you really want to do. Like, there's even down to like the fact there's like a day-night cycle, the fact that there's, you know, always a distraction which is going to point you away from the main thing that you want to do. The way I kind of liken it is, if you played Breath of the Wild, Zelda, you know, the when you get out of the is it the glade, when you get the when you get out of the glade for the first time, you first see the open world in front of you. You can see that big volcano in the back, off in the distance. You're like, that seems like where I need to end up at eventually.
Yeah.
But before I get there, oh, shiny, what's this? Oh, hang on. Oh, what's that there? Oh, you're a little orc, right? I'll take you around.
I'm going to spend 35 hours gallivanting around Hyrule, and then maybe I'll take on Ganon.
And that is really what Mage Knight feels like. Like, I was playing this alone the other day on the big kitchen table, extended it and everything. It was a really lovely experience. And I didn't complete the game because I got so distracted hunting for treasure in an abandoned tomb. and it was just fantastic because I was just like, I managed to get all this treasure, but I didn't quote unquote complete the game because I just ended up getting distracted. When I played it with me and Kris, Mage Knight has also got a morality meter in it. So you get like reputation, either plus or negative, by doing certain things. If you kill some orcs, the people who live in the world really love you. You get some boons, you get some good reputation. But if you start doing some bad stuff, you really go down in people's estimations. But you can do a lot of things quickly. Like, for example, you could go into a village and either do some negotiation, get some people along to join you on your journey, recruit some units, recruit some peasants to come and help you do some battling and fighting, all good. Or you can just pillage it, get some bad reputation, and you get to draw loads of cards. Same with castles and keeps that you come along the way. You can either free them of their of the sort of the creatures who have overtaken them, or you can just raze them to the ground, steal all their artifacts, and off you go. And I remember in the game that me and Kris played, I managed to hire some thugs.
You did.
And it was brilliant because every time I used them, they gave me bad reputation, but boy, oh boy, were they strong.
Yeah.
I was just like, I felt like this really powerful wizard, like roaming the countryside with me and my thugs. I was like standing there like, all right, lads, in you go.
Yeah. Be a shame if you were to...
You just wait outside smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
So are you... It sounds like you're telling quite a lot of stories, like you're actually generating narrative.
Yes.
Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's not like explicitly. It's not like, say, Arkham Horror, the card game, where you turn almost like turning the pages of the book. You get some flavor text there, which keeps you on point. It's a story generating machine. Like we got a little bit of in the scenario at the beginning that kind of provided context what Sam and I were doing, but we were narrativizing it ourselves because, as Sam was saying, you don't know which direction you're going to go in. Equally, also, you don't know what bit of terrain you're going to pull from the pile of terrain there, because for the very first scenario we played, Sam, we just had to discover this castle.
Yeah.
And we didn't know when it was going to crop up. And so we were kind of generating our own narrative, which was absolutely great fun to play with. Sam, can I just ask, and obviously maybe it's the fact that you played Solitaire after you played with me, and the first time you played it was with me. Like, what was the setup and teardown like for a Solitaire experience? Because I think in some respects when you're doing it with someone else, you don't feel that the weight of that so much. But when you're in a solitary experience, It's not like my PlayStation where I can just boot it up and there I'm ready to go. What in terms of something as epic as Mage Knight, a lot of moving parts, what's that like as a solitary experience and just the literal mechanics of setting it up?
I think, and this is a big plus in WizKids' column who produced this, is that I think the setup and teardown for a game this size is one of the most impressive that I've encountered. Like, it looks really daunting when you get it out when you put the box down on the table, and it feels like it can be quite daunting. And the Ultimate Edition makes it a little bit more complicated because there's extra cards in there, and there's extra terrain tiles, and there's a bit more in there than you would have got in the base version. That you would have got in the base version. So I had to do a little bit of filtering out to stop us getting certain things. But really, the game is right. Just get everything out, because you just don't know what you're going to experience. Right, here's some new action cards. Here's some spell cards that you can get access to. Here's your artifacts. Here are the units. Here's your fame tracker. Here's your reputation. Just go. And because you're kind of just like, that's your deck, and you're getting everything out on the table and just going and exploring, the setup and the teardown is actually pretty simple, because you're literally just getting everything out of the box. And now I've played it like 2 or 3 times. The actual getting it out and putting it on the table like isn't a daunting thing. It's actually something that fills me with a little bit of excitement and joy. And I think where Mage Knight really excels, and this is something that only struck me once I started playing it solitaire, and I can't wait to play this with you again, Kris, because even though that opening scenario is good in terms of teaching the rules, it's bobbins in terms of actually making you realise what the true potential of that game is. Because the opening scenario is only 3 rounds long. All it wants you to do is to move forward and see new parts of the map, because all it's trying to do is trying to get you to uncover a part of the map, teach you, oh, you've discovered this, which does this, but ignore it, just keep going forwards. Whereas when I've played it on my own, it's kind of, oh, I've discovered this. Oh, I'm going to go straight towards I'm going straight towards that. But the actual thing that where Mage Knight excels is that your character grows, but it grows through your character grows, but they grow through experience, not through an economy. And I think that in a lot of board games, and especially a lot of deck building games and a lot of quote unquote RPG games, your character grows through an economy. So by that I mean, oh, you've got this card, and this card, which allows you to buy that card, which allows you to get a little bit stronger. And now you've got this card, and this card, which allows you to buy this card, which gets you a little bit stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And how you grow in Mage Knight, how you get more powerful, is by acquiring cards. But you can only ever acquire those cards by increasing your fame level, by doing certain things inside the game. So every time you acquire something new, it's been done because of a hard-fought battle. It's been done because you went off the beaten track and you explored a tomb. It's been done because you were able to do some actually really clever card play and resource management to get you in a position to be able to buy and acquire certain things. So by the end of the game, you feel a lot more powerful and you feel like you've had an experience, but it feels really earned. And it was why I didn't mind not completing the scenario, because I felt like I'd had a well-rounded experience.
I feel like a lot of the enjoyment of solo games is exploring the mechanics and like finding enjoyment in the structure of rules. Like, and I know that sounds like a dry Saturday afternoon, but there is something quite enjoyable that things like Mage Knight offer, which is the enjoyment of seeing mastery in design and exploring the limits within a set template. Like,
Yeah.
That to me sounds really compelling. And the fact that like it's not just solitaire, it's got this multiplayer component. It's multiplayer as well. It's got all this additional stuff. Like it sounds like there's a ton of content in there to be exploring and getting on with.
Yeah. It's an incredible piece of work.
You mentioned Star Trek earlier, Sam. I have been playing. It's a little known fact. I don't know if it's a little known fact now. I love Star Trek. Like I love it.
Can I just say, for me, it is a little known fact because I didn't know that you loved Star Trek.
Really?
Well, I knew, and I share that because we all know that you watch a lot of Star Trek.
I do.
But I don't think you've ever said that you love it.
I love Star
And just
Trek.
because you watch a lot of something doesn't mean that you love it.
Yeah,
it just means that I've decided to watch all of this one thing.
Yes.
From the beginning to the end.
That is true.
What is it you love about Star Trek, Pete, in particular?
Utopian fiction.
Fair enough.
Utopian science fiction. So
I was going to say the babes.
and
Alien
so
babes.
So yeah. So basically I have ever since I was young, I have absolutely adored Star Trek. For me, Next Gen, DS9, Voyager, and then I even liked Enterprise. Like it was fine. And I love the Star Trek movies, like all of the Star Trek movies. I like the alternative universe Star Trek movies, even not as much as the kind of original, original canonical universe stuff. Like I love Star Trek, and as I say, I think the big thing about it is utopian fiction, right? I'm really bored. I always get really, really tired of dystopian sci-fi. Like obviously there's a lot to like in there. You know, there's tons of sci-fi classics out there that are dystopian. You know, I like 40K, for example. I like Dune. I you know, things like Endymion, for example, or Snow Crash, or whatever. Like all of these sorts of things are really interesting, but I think it takes a different skill to be able to write utopian fiction and to create a utopian universe. And I think the joy of sci-fi that I take from Star Trek is the fact that it's about essentially, if you've never watched Star Trek, and it does get a bit of a bad rep of being extremely nerdy, because some of it is, but some of it. But
Is that really cool part of it?
yeah, I've got to be honest. When it tries to be cool, that's actually the stuff I don't like. But the whole sort of conceit is that humanity has gone through real terrible things, come out of it into a post-scarcity society. So that means that food, energy, water, all of those sorts of things, they are now not a problem. And they decide as a collective to go and explore the stars. That's basically the foundational idea of Star Trek.
It's a bit like, and I've not finished the series, but it's a bit like how I imagine Isaac Asimov's Foundation series will end. Going like, we got here. Yeah.
We're here now. So yeah, I mean, like that kind of, and it's interesting that you mentioned Asimov, because yeah, I like Asimov's sci-fi. He does dystopian, he does utopian. I really like that big difference. See also things like H.G. Wells and Arthur C. Clarke, those sorts of things. Those things in sci-fi where you go, wow, that's amazing. That's what a world to live in. Anyway, so that core conceit of Star Trek is humanity decides to go and explore the stars. As soon as it figures out how to do that, it's contacted and then by alien races, and then some other stuff happens, and then basically, yeah, they continue to head out and try to bring this idea, the idea of what's called the Federation, which is the humans and the Vulcans and the Bajorans and a bunch of other different races, species, together. It's trying to take that idea of bettering oneself and peaceful coexistence, like celebrating differences, trying to take that out into the wider galaxy, and the threats and issues that they face when trying to do that, right? So, That's why I love it. So Star Trek video games are not they are hit and miss. So we've had things like Honor Guard, Elite Forces. We had some point-and-click adventures, and to varying different degrees.
Is it like the films, Pete, where it's every other game in the series is good?
I would say it's not even every other.
Oh, God.
So the game I'm talking
Every
about,
leap year.
Oh, I mean, almost. Every game has its drawbacks, and a huge part of it is to do with the fact that, so for example, there are a couple of first-person shooters in the Star Trek video game canon. And the problem with that is that's not actually how most stuff in Star Trek as a series is solved.
I was going to say, shooting on sight is not really the Federation way, is it?
Yeah, I mean, so for example, when they did a cover-based Gears of War shooter based on the Alternative Universe franchise, it was like, you've missed the point, right? Whereas the point-and-click adventures from back in the day, they were much more about use your wits and talent and try and outthink the situation. And that is a long way of me saying I've been playing Star Trek Resurgence, which is by a studio called Dramatic Labs, and you might not have heard of them, but you will have heard of Telltale, and that's the studio that they spun out of, right? So when Telltale went skew, a bunch of different developers went off and did different things, and one of those things was Dramatic Labs, and as far as I can tell, their first game is Star Trek Resurgence. It is out now. Because I've been playing it. It's just about to come out on Steam. It went to Epic first. It is also on PS4, 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. There might be some other platform versions coming. There's like a job advert going up on their website that's gone up on their website that kind of indicates like mobile and other consoles. So maybe there'll be some other ones. But it is like if you played a Telltale game, it is kind of like that, crossed with a little bit, and I don't want to give anybody the wrong impression, a little bit of Mass Effect. And Mass Effect does crib a lot from Star Trek. Like you can see the influence there when you play Mass Effect. So it's a game that is it's set a little bit after the events of Star Trek Next Generation, but none of that really matters, because the game is kind of standalone, doesn't really reflect any of that stuff. You just kind of need to know vaguely what Star Trek as a concept is. You don't need to have watched any of the other Star Trek stuff, which I think is in its favour. And in fact, actually, I think they made a really smart choice in Resurgence by doing that. It has got 2 returning characters from Star Trek. It has Riker, Riker, him getting he's definitely got the beard. It's I believe him becoming an admiral. It's while he's the captain of the Titan, which is a spin-off book series, I think. I love Star Trek. I can't get this across to you enough. I really love Star Trek. So it has got him, and it has got the USS Titan, and it does also have Ambassador Spock, not played, sadly by Leonard Nimoy, because he's no longer with us, but by a very, very good sound alike. So those 2 characters are in it, which is really cool to see them. And basically it's this story about the Federation has to go and settle a dispute around a mining agreement. This is why I love Star Trek, right? It's a dispute, or it's basically a labor dispute, right?
It's low stakes.
Yeah, right. But so it seems fairly low stakes at the beginning, and by the end of it, it is pretty big stakes, like pretty big, like made for TV movie stakes, whereby some big stuff's on the line, and the telltale-ness of it means that the game is at its best when it's dealing with narrative and dialogue, right? This is superbly written. This is one of the best written video games in terms of dialogue and plot and that sort of thing. I think this is one of the best video games of the last 5 years in terms of its writing. There, you play as 2 main characters, Jara Rydek and Carter Diaz. They form this duology of character types, whereby one of them is the first officer on, like the second in command, basically, of the ship that they're on, and one of them is essentially in the lower decks, like just a sort of a non-commissioned officer, I think, a kind of low-stakes engineer. And you get this different perspective of life on a ship, and this story is seen through both of their pairs of eyes. And you make character choices. You go through the game. You remember that whole thing with Telltale Games where it was like, this person will remember that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the game, right? Like it is an adventure game in the Telltale style.
Is it?
That's when it's at its best. When it's at its worst, it is doing action stuff. So, for example, there's bits where you have to shoot some things, and the mechanics are just woeful. Like they're just really, and they're not terrible. They're just boring, right? Like they're just really. You can tell that there's not much in them. There's not enough like
debating. No,
that's the thing. When there is that stuff is great, right? Like so when they're having discussions and you are being asked up front, who do you think has the correct answer here? This may very well influence the power in this part of the galaxy, right? That's really cool. That is really, really neat. And they managed to do that really, really well. When they're doing stuff like pilot through these rings, like that's really like not very good.
Let's have a race.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And what's the morality on what's the morality of the game like? Because in Telltale Games, one of the successes of the Walking Dead series was very much that there was no clear.
Yep.
What was one in Mass Effect? Paragon,
Renegade, or straight down the middle.
Yeah, and in Mass Effect, it was like, here are 10 children. Do you want to save them, or do you want to kill all of them?
yeah.
It was like it was always very obvious which was the right or wrong thing to do.
Sam's wizard and his bandits.
Very wrong.
So this one is much more grey, and it's much more grey in an interesting manner, which is that there are twists and turns, like any good piece of fiction, that you make a decision and you think, yeah, that is, I think, how most people would answer. And you can actually see your choices in relation to everybody else's choices. And some of them, like you're like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And then some of the choices are very divisive. And some of the choices are, they blindside you because you don't have a piece of information about what's gone on somewhere else that would help you make a better informed decision. And while that sounds like it could be like a negative because you want perfect information, it's actually more interesting because it ratchets the drama up. Like in the first third of the game itself, you are missing a piece of information somewhat deliberately that helps you make decisions that you later regret. And it's very clever. It's a very clever narrative technique to make you go, I got pulled in by that as well. This conspiracy or whatever it ends up being. They introduce a new alien race. In fact, I think they introduced 2 new alien races. They certainly haven't really looked at them in any of the TV series. And they are really cool, like really interesting humanoid-esque character species. But the dispute that they have is classic Star Trek stuff of there are 2 fairly close planets that are both habitable. One of them has tons of resources and one of them has high technology. And how do you solve a dispute over the mining rights between these 2 things? Because the people with the high technology, they have the tools and equipment to get the stuff out the ground, but the people on the planet, they don't have the tools and technology, but they do have the stuff itself and the labor market to be able to do that stuff.
Well, so Sam, Dan, how would you solve it then? You got about 30 seconds each. How would you do it?
Repeat the question.
So you got 2 planets. One's got the tools, the other one's got the resources to mine. How do you get them to decide who has the rights to mine?
You just get them working together.
There you go.
So great. That's the utopian ideal that the Federation would want.
Kill the miners.
Okay, nice one, Dan. Like maybe the Star Trek's not for you. But from there, they spin this very good Star Trek Next Gen DS9 era-ish utopian sci-fi story that is some of the best Star Trek video games that have ever been done, in terms of storytelling, in terms of getting the feel of the thing right, like the actual, like, yeah, this is Star Trek.
Obviously, kind of all the stuff you've been talking about there, that's kind of the most important thing that we're looking at kind of with the game and stuff. But I've always found that anytime I play a game or something that's based on an existing property, like one of the biggest pleasures that come from it is experiencing that world kind of at my leisure. So the one that sticks out for me, it was a deeply flawed game, but the video game for the TV series Lost.
Sure.
I kind of a deeply flawed game, but I always loved walking around what would be the locations there, going to a specific place and finding it in my own way, and just wandering around that world kind of at my leisure and kind of navigating the bits. And obviously, like Kris, when we've played kind of various different Lord of the Rings type things, like whether it's like Lord of the Rings Online, where we wanted to walk through the route of the films and stuff like that. Like,
so good.
Now, obviously, kind of as you alluded to at the start, there are many different areas of Star Trek. It's not a linear line that you can say, okay, there's a game about Star Trek, it's going to be on the Enterprise with Kirk and Spock, and that's it. Because of the fact that it could fall anywhere along this whole timeline, do you get that sense of, I wouldn't say necessarily nostalgia, because it's not always nostalgia, but that pleasure of being in that world and being able to walk around the ship and stuff like that? I've watched some videos and stuff, and obviously the design of them is very iconic to the kind of Star Trek stuff, the kind of the way the walls look and all that stuff. Does it have that when you're playing it?
And yes, and that's why I mentioned it's specifically next gen DS9, not just in terms of its like storytelling, but in terms of its like aesthetic push. Some of the shots that are in it, for example, feel really authentic. They feel like they do this thing even that next gen DS9 Voyager they all did, which is there'll be two people having a pretty heated argument in the captain's office about something deeply philosophical, and one will go to walk out, and just as they're about to go out the door, the person will stop them and say da 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 da. They'll say something that then turns the situation on its head, and it's that kind of level of space opera. But that is a classic next gen DS9 move. So that when I'm playing as Rydek and I'm going out onto the bridge, and I get a moment to wander around and do some limited kind of interactions. Like I say, it's kind of a point-and-click adventure, really. So it's kind of scripted in that way. But getting to do that, and getting to sit in the captain's chair, and getting to say the word engage, all of those things, they all feel really...
There it is. That's what it is.
Did you say it out loud?
Oh, it's great. You get to choose... choose between three different things. You can either say engage, I think it's engage, make it so, or
Geronimo.
Something like that.
Cowabunga.
Right.
It's like a free text field.
And you get to, but that's the thing. The thrill of it, like you were saying, Dan, the thrill of it is having that moment where you get to press a button and you go engage. As a Star Trek fan, you're just like, yes, I could be in this chair. I could say that. I could.
I am in Star Trek now.
I am in Star Trek. I could do it. But like, and I think, like I say, I think them setting it away from the main story of Star Trek around that era, and setting it on a different ship. It's not about the Dominion. It's not about what's going on there. It's not really even much about the Alpha Quadrant, for example, that much about it, although I suppose it kind of turns that way about 2/3 of the way in. But it just feels like Star Trek. And as somebody who loves that entire body of work and that universe, I should say, that is really refreshing to play in a game, because it is very difficult to make a video game about something that's not actively about destruction or trying to out-compete with somebody. It's very difficult to make a game that's about basically playing nice, like trying to get different people to work together. Like it's really, really great.
So I've been looking at some body pillows.
Okay, yeah, for personal use or for Kris use?
Yeah, so I just sent you all the girlfriend body pillow.
Yeah.
Oh, good Lord.
Which
Okay,
basically is just a female torso.
Okay.
With partial arms, no head,
Oh,
a slight chest. That's it.
This is problematic, isn't it?
But it's all right because it says it's velvety, soft, non-toxic, and it's got hyphens between all of those words.
Well, I've got. Well, I think it's definitely toxic, but I don't know these.
But hang on. There's one for anyone who may be attracted more to the male form. There's the muscle man pillow,
Okay.
which is cute and fun, hunky husband, cuddle companion.
Okay.
And it's like basically like a 6-pack.
Yeah.
But unlike the female one, it's only half the body.
What?
I'll send you all this so we can all see it at the same time. Hold on.
Oh yeah, I see it. Oh, that's. There's a picture of. Oh, this is creepy.
I love the fact that it stresses that it assumes that the only reason you'll need this is if because your partner's away on a trip. That's what it keeps
absolutely
exclaiming.
I also feel like, you know, the male one, the male presenting one is cute and fun, whereas the girlfriend one is a full torso.
You need a friend. So
yeah, you need a friend. Yeah, but it's cute and fun if your girlfriend does it. But I need a friend because
why do they give the male the nipples?
I don't know.
It's a
but
pillow.
I think my favorite
Joel Schumacher design.
My favorite one so far is the one shaped like a baguette of bread.
You know what? If you're going to take something to bed, you may as well take to bed somebody you love and a loaf of bread.
If it was a banoffee pie, I'd perhaps consider it.
and I've got a bit of a beef the fact that you can either have the hunky husband cuddle companion, or you can have the boyfriend companion.
What's the difference?
Which hasn't got any muscles on it. It's in a plaid shirt with a little pocket. Yeah. So you now know what I'm going to say. If you'd like to have one of us as a body pillow, you can vote now by going to stayinginpod@gmail.com.
Perfect.
Make sure to put in the subject
what
line.
would you bring to the body pillow that no one else could?
I think I'd bring just relentless energy.
Yeah, that's what you want when you go to bed.
Which is what you're looking for from a body pillow.
Yeah.
I would say it's more. I would say it's more nervous energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, make sure you put in the subject line body pillow, and then just tell us which one of the four of us you'd like to snuggle.
Okay, that's all right. We're going down some dark paths now. If you've got a body pillow, don't tell us, but tell us something else if you like on our social channels. Like we check those: Twitter, Facebook.
Instagram.
Instagram's the one, really. Like, I know we say this.
Yeah, it is.
I know we say this every time, but honestly, it's nice. It's a nicer place, and you can see pictures of things, including. What sort of things can they expect?
I was just going to have a look.
I'm going to go over
There's
there.
no body pillows to be
There's
clear.
To be fair, there aren't any. No.
Well, I mean, Pete, you did get some
Flamecraft.
staying in socks, so maybe SC could furnish you with a staying in body pillow.
Yeah, that's true. And if you want to see my socks, you can actually see them on our Instagram. You can see those. You can also see all the other lovely stuff that we got for Secret Santa, the SC.
Yeah,
SC?
you can see me unboxing Mage Knight
Yep.
Ultimate Edition.
You see that stuff? You can see a beautiful, beautiful game called Fire Tower. What that looks like. It looks incredible. You can see the picture of Flamecraft as well, and all the lovely art with that. You can see, oh my goodness, that is amazing stuff. Mince or Mince that we talked about a couple of episodes back. Loads of stuff on there. Instagram, Staying in Pod. That's the one that you want to go to and have a quick look at that stuff because it is lovely. And come and say hello there. What else? That's about it, really. No? Is that it?
See you on the beach.
See you on the beach.
What?
What?
What?